Rain Brown from Alaskan Bush. People has been sentenced. The youngest and once most hopeful member of the Brown family is now facing the harsh consequences of a criminal case that has stunned longtime fans and followers. Arrested alongside her husband for burglary, malicious mischief, and criminal trespass, Rain's fall from grace has left many wondering what went so terribly wrong. Behind the scenes, her life had taken a darker turn long before the headlines broke. Now, with the sentence finalized, painful questions remain. How did Rain Brown's world collapse so quickly? What battles was she fighting in silence? And after everything she has lost, is there still a way back for her, or is this truly the end? Rain Brown's arrest shocks the nation. What happened? On April 11, 2025, Rain Brown, the youngest daughter of the famous Alaskan Bush people family, was arrested alongside her husband, Josiah Lorton, in Okanogan County, Washington. The charges were serious first-degree burglary and first-degree malicious mischief, both felonies. Additionally, Rain faced a separate charge of second-degree criminal trespass, a gross misdemeanor. According to police reports, Rain and Josiah were accused of illegally entering a private property without permission and causing significant property damage. Though the specific details of the incident, such as the identity of the property owner, the extent of the damage, or what exactly took place inside the residence, have not been publicly released, law enforcement sources confirmed that the charges were based on evidence collected at the scene and witness accounts. The arrest sent shockwaves across the reality TV world. For years, Rain had been portrayed as the innocent, grounded child of the rugged Brown family surviving off the grid in harsh conditions. Seeing her in handcuffs facing serious felony charges was a stunning reversal for fans who had watched her grow up on national television. After being booked into the county jail, Rain and Josiah spent 3 days in custody. On April 14, 2025, both were released without having to post bail, a decision that raised eyebrows. Some speculated that their release indicated the charges might be less serious than initially feared, while others argued it reflected their clean prior records. Nonetheless, they were ordered to appear at a future court date to formally face the charges. Public reaction was swift and divided. While some fans rushed to Rain's defense, expressing disbelief that she could be involved in any crime, others noted that her increasingly erratic public behavior over the past few years hinted at deeper personal struggles. This troubling incident marked a dramatic and very public fall for Rain Brown, thrusting her once private battles into the full glare of the media spotlight. For weeks, there had been little official news about her case, only rumors and speculation swirling among fans. But just 2 minutes ago, everything changed. Breaking updates have surfaced, and they confirmed the situation has taken a dramatic and heartbreaking new turn. What exactly happened next would leave fans around the world stunned and raise even more painful questions about where Rain Brown's life is truly headed. Rain's shocking arrest is only the beginning of a much deeper story, a story shaped by years of hidden emotional battles that few ever truly understood. A long battle with mental health. Long before her arrest, troubling signs had already begun to surface in Rain Brown's life. Beneath the smiling face, viewers knew from Alaskan Bush, people Rain was quietly battling serious mental health struggles that only worsened with time. As the youngest member of the Brown family, Rain faced enormous pressure from a young age. She grew up isolated from the outside world, living in extreme conditions for the reality cameras. While this lifestyle appeared adventurous and exciting to viewers behind the scenes, it came at a steep emotional cost. In 2018, at just 15 years old, Rain bravely opened up to her followers, admitting she was struggling with deep depression. She revealed she had entered therapy seeking help to deal with overwhelming feelings of sadness, loneliness, and confusion about her place in the world. On Instagram, Rain's posts turned increasingly emotional and cryptic, sometimes referencing feeling lost or misunderstood. Fans grew concerned as she spoke about her internal battles, even referring to herself at one point as a lost soul. At times, Rain would disappear from social media for weeks or even months, without explanation, fueling speculation about her mental well-being. Insiders close to the family later shared that Rain experienced recurring episodes of depression, exacerbated by the growing responsibilities she faced while still trying to find her footing as a young adult. Living between two worlds, the harsh demands of off-grid survival and the expectations of reality TV fame left her emotionally fractured and often isolated from traditional support systems like school friends, counselors, and mentors. Rain tried to mask her pain through art, poetry, and positive affirmations on her social media. But beneath her inspirational posts, darker messages would sometimes slip through. In one post, she spoke about wearing a smile as armor, hinting at the tremendous emotional burden she carried behind closed doors. Mental health battles are rarely simple, and for many who have followed Rain's journey closely, it is believed that her long years of internal struggle may have eroded her ability to make sound decisions or seek help when she needed it most. Some observers feel that her silent suffering played a devastating role in the series of poor choices that ultimately led to her arrest. What appeared to outsiders as a sudden fall from grace may, in the eyes of many, have been the tragic outcome of years of unresolved pain building silently beneath the surface. And as her emotional struggles deepened, Rain faced new turning points that would push her even further down a path she could no longer control. In February 2021, Rain Brown suffered a devastating blow that would forever alter the course of her life. Her father, Billy Brown, the beloved patriarch of the Alaskan Bush people family, died suddenly at the age of 68 after suffering a fatal seizure at the family's North Star Ranch in Washington. Billy wasn't just Rain's father, he was her rock, her moral compass, and her emotional foundation. Throughout her life, Rain openly described her father as her hero and best friend, someone who had guided her through the unique challenges of growing up isolated from the modern world. His passing left a gaping hole in the Brown family, but for Rain, it was a life-altering catastrophe. In the weeks following his death, Rain's grief was painfully visible. She posted heartbreaking messages on Instagram admitting to her followers that she felt completely lost without him. In one emotional post, she wrote, "I don't know who I am anymore without you." She shared photos of sunsets and wilderness scenes, using them as metaphors for loss, loneliness, and searching for meaning in a world that suddenly felt unfamiliar and unsafe. Fans quickly noticed a stark change in her behavior. Rain withdrew from the spotlight, limiting her appearances on the family's reality show and taking long breaks from social media. Once an energetic and vibrant presence, she became somber and reclusive. Insiders close to the family later confirmed that Rain had been battling waves of deep depression, struggling to find a reason to move forward after the loss of the man who had always anchored her emotionally. Billy's death also disrupted the entire family dynamic. As the leader and decision-maker, Billy had kept the family united through countless hardships. Without him, tensions between siblings surfaced more visibly, and the family's once solid image began to fracture. For Rain, who had already been dealing with personal emotional battles, the collapse of family support made her situation even more precarious, leaving her adrift at the very moment she needed stability the most. Many who have followed Rain's journey believe that Billy's death triggered a devastating domino effect in her life. Without his guidance and protection, Rain became more vulnerable to unhealthy influences, poor choices, and emotional instability. She struggled to set boundaries, to distinguish true friends from opportunists, and to find her own identity outside the family's carefully curated public image. These vulnerabilities, left unchecked, would eventually steer her into dangerous territory, culminating in the legal troubles that now dominate headlines. What made Rain's grief even harder to bear was the public nature of her mourning. Grieving privately is difficult enough, but for Rain, every move she made was scrutinized by fans and critics alike. Every cryptic post, every absence, every emotional outburst was picked apart and judged, leaving her feeling even more exposed, isolated, and misunderstood. That isolation, many believe, pushed her further down a path of desperate decisions and misplaced trust, still grappling with overwhelming grief and searching for something or someone to hold on to. Rain soon turned to one of the few places she thought she could find comfort, a new relationship that would ultimately become one of the most controversial and pivotal decisions of her life. Rain's marriage under the microscope. In the aftermath of Billy Brown's death, Rain Brown desperately searched for stability, companionship, and emotional refuge. Isolated from much of her family, overwhelmed by grief, and struggling with her own mental health battles, she found solace in a relationship that quickly grew serious, her bond with Josiah Lorton. Very little is publicly known about Josiah Lorton. He is not a celebrity, a survivalist, or a television personality. Unlike the rugged image many fans associated with the Browns, Josiah's background remains largely private, giving rise to much speculation. What is clear is that Josiah became a central figure in Rain's life at a time when she was most vulnerable, a period marked by emotional upheaval, fractured family ties, and public scrutiny. Rain and Josiah's relationship developed largely away from the cameras. Unlike earlier periods of her life, Rain chose to keep many details about her marriage private. She rarely posted about Josiah, and when she did, the glimpses were brief and guarded. Some fans interpreted this privacy as a sign of true love, Rain protecting something sacred. Others, however, voiced concerns, worried that Rain's isolation and unresolved trauma made her susceptible to unhealthy attachments. In 2024, Rain confirmed that she had quietly married Josiah Lorton. The announcement caught even longtime fans by surprise. Notably, none of Rain's siblings attended the wedding, a revelation that raised serious questions about the family's internal divisions. Rain's marriage seemed to symbolize a larger shift, a young woman breaking away from her family's traditions and expectations, seeking independence, but perhaps doing so from a place of deep emotional pain rather than empowerment. Those close to the situation later described Rain and Josiah's lifestyle as hand-to-mouth, living a rugged survivalist life, but without the financial and production support that Alaskan Bush people once provided. The couple reportedly struggled with money, frequently moving between temporary residences and relying on odd jobs to get by. Insiders hinted that financial strain combined with Rain's lingering emotional fragility created a tense and unstable environment. When Rain and Josiah were arrested in April 2025 for burglary, malicious mischief, and trespassing, many observers immediately drew a connection between Rain's personal struggles, the pressures of her new marriage, and the decisions that led to her downfall. To some, Rain's bond with Josiah seemed like a lifeline in her darkest moments, but over time, it may have evolved into another source of instability rather than the solid foundation she so desperately needed. Now, with the shocking recent developments surrounding Rain's legal case, questions about her relationship with Josiah have only intensified. Was he a partner who provided love and support during her hardest years? Or did their bond forged in grief and desperation ultimately accelerate Rain's spiral into crisis? In the wake of her arrest, Rain Brown finally broke her silence and pointed fingers not at strangers, but at someone she once trusted deeply, her former manager. Rain's public response would ignite even more controversy. After spending 3 days in jail following her arrest in April 2025, Rain Brown was released without bail. But before her next scheduled court appearance, she finally decided to break her silence, and her message shocked everyone. Rather than apologizing or explaining the charges against her, Rain took to Instagram to accuse a former manager of betrayal theft and false accusations. In a heartfelt and emotional post, Rain claimed that a former manager, someone she had once trusted with her career and finances, had not only stolen from her, but was now orchestrating her downfall by falsely accusing her of crimes she insists she did not commit. Rain wrote. She continued pleading with her followers to wait for her side of the story. It deeply hurts my heart. With all this said, I hope y'all will stick around to hear my side of the story. God bless y'all. Rain also posted a powerful Bible verse alongside her statement to drive home her plea for understanding and fairness. Through her words, Rain made it clear that she believed the legal nightmare she now faced was not the result of her own wrongdoing, but a calculated attack by someone who had already harmed her deeply in the past. She painted a picture of betrayal theft and emotional abuse, and portrayed herself as a young woman wronged yet again by those she had trusted during her most vulnerable years. Fans' reactions were sharply divided. Some rushed to Rain's defense, arguing that she had been naive and exploited at a young age, especially following the emotional collapse she suffered after her father's death. They sympathized with her claims, believing she had been targeted by a manipulative former associate who knew how fragile she was. Others, however, viewed Rain's statement with skepticism. Some questioned whether blaming her manager was an attempt to deflect responsibility away from her own actions. They pointed out that legal charges are not filed lightly, and wondered whether Rain was trying to shift public opinion ahead of her court date. Regardless of where fans stood, one thing was certain. Rain Brown's Instagram outburst turned her quiet legal trouble into a full-blown public battle for her reputation. No longer was the focus just on the burglary charges. It had expanded into a deeper story of betrayal, manipulation, and emotional collapse. But Rain's accusations against her former manager were only part of the story. As attention intensified, troubling details began surfacing from inside her own family, exposing cracks, conflicts, and betrayals that had been hidden for far too long. As Rain Brown battled legal troubles and accusations from her former manager, another painful rift was brewing much closer to home within her own family. Long before her 2025 arrest, signs of deep fractures between Rain and her siblings had already begun to emerge, revealing a side of the Brown family that fans rarely saw on television. In August 2024, Rain's brother Noah Brown and his wife Rain filed a petition for order of protection against her in Okanogan County Court. The allegations were deeply disturbing and painted a picture of a family relationship in serious disrepair. According to court documents, Noah accused Rain of stalking, harassment, and substance abuse, claiming that her behavior had escalated to the point where it threatened the safety of his family, particularly his two young sons, Elijah and Adam. Among the specific accusations, Noah alleged that Rain had a pattern of malicious and intentional threats, and stated there was a threat of violence, including the presence of a firearm or weapon causing substantial emotional distress. Even more alarming, Noah claimed that Rain had been using cocaine and meth and consuming alcohol, and alleged that she had once offered cocaine to their mother, Amy Brown, during a December 2023 visit. Two particularly chilling incidents were cited in Noah's petition. In one episode during the filming of Alaskan Bush People in July 2022, Noah recalled being in an elevator with Rain when she allegedly said, "My life would be so much easier if you were dead. If only I wouldn't get caught. I think that my gun is in my room." In another incident in May 2023, Rain reportedly became agitated while attempting to transport a malnourished horse. Noah claimed that Rain snapped at him, yelling, "Just stop. We don't need your help. I would rather the horse die than listen to you. I will take its life myself. Now go wait in your truck, or I will get my gun right now." The horse reportedly died the following day. Citing these incidents as evidence of escalating threats and instability, Noah's petition sought to prohibit Rain from contacting his family and demanded that she surrender all firearms, including 2 handguns, semi-automatic rifles, and shotguns. However, despite the alarming claims, the court denied the temporary restraining order. The judge cited a lack of immediate evidence and procedural issues, noting that the incidents described were either too remote in time or insufficiently documented to warrant emergency protection. In response to the filing, Rain did not remain silent. She took to Instagram, venting her frustration over what she saw as the unrealistic and judgmental expectations placed on her, both by the public and possibly by her own family. Rain criticized the idea that people preferred a polished, sanitized version of her, rather than accepting her real, imperfect self. She wrote, "Rather than apologizing or acknowledging any wrongdoing, Rain's post struck a tone of defiance and resentment. She made it clear she would not conform to anyone's expectations of what she should be." Rain even hinted that there was more to the situation than outsiders knew, suggesting that her side of the story had yet to be told. She teased a future reveal, writing, "If that sentence offended you, and you asked yourself, what happened to her? Keep asking that question. Maybe one day I'll write a book." For many, these resurfaced allegations from Rain's brother began to lend more credence to the recent burglary charges she was now facing. Her past was no longer seen through the lens of youthful rebellion or family misunderstandings. It was now framed as a pattern of increasingly unstable and reckless behavior. Also, doubts began growing around Rain's Instagram post, where she had blamed a former manager for setting her up. While some loyal supporters clung to her version of events, a growing number of fans and observers questioned whether Rain might indeed have been capable of committing the crimes she had been charged with. As one fan bluntly commented, "If Rain really did all the things her brother accused her of, then she's no longer the sweet, bright light we saw on TV. She's no saint. All of this just screams guilty." Another wrote, "And just when it seemed Rain's situation couldn't get any worse, breaking news confirmed that her fate was sealed, and the consequences were even more devastating than fans had feared. After months of speculation, emotional breakdowns, and mounting public scrutiny, the news many fans feared has finally broken. Rain Brown's case has reached a shocking turning point. In the immediate aftermath of her April 2025 arrest, Rain was released without bail and ordered to await her next court appearance. For weeks, the public heard very little, only silent, cryptic social media posts and swirling speculation about how the legal proceedings would unfold. Some believed Rain might fight the charges. Others assumed a quiet settlement was underway behind the scenes. But now breaking updates have confirmed that Rain Brown has officially been sentenced in connection to the burglary and malicious mischief charges. While exact court documents have yet to be fully disclosed to the public, insiders familiar with the proceedings have indicated that Rain's case did not end favorably for her. Reports suggest that Rain either entered a guilty plea or accepted a negotiated deal with prosecutors, leading to a finalized judgment against her. Though full details, such as the specific penalties, probation terms, or possible jail time, remain under court seal. For now, what is clear is that Rain's legal saga has come to a definitive and devastating end. The shocking confirmation sent shockwaves through the Alaskan Bush people fan community. Many longtime viewers who had once rooted for Rain as the bright light of the Brown family found themselves grappling with heartbreak, disappointment, and sadness over how far she had fallen. Public reaction has been sharply divided. Some fans continue to defend Rain, insisting that emotional instability, grief, betrayal by those she trusted, and years of public pressure played a huge role in her poor decisions. Others, however, now view Rain's arrest court case and sentencing as the tragic but inevitable result of years of escalating instability, a slow-motion collapse that had been visible long before the actual charges were filed. To them, Rain's guilty plea or conviction is not a miscarriage of justice, but a painful confirmation that her life had veered into dangerous territory long ago. Now, with a sentence finalized and her reputation in tatters, Rain Brown faces an uncertain and lonely road ahead. Her once bright future has been clouded by a series of devastating choices, betrayals, and emotional breakdowns that have left her forever changed in the public eye. As the dust settles and Rain's sentencing becomes a grim reality, one heartbreaking question remains. What happens now? Is there any future left for Rain Brown? Or is this truly goodbye forever? Goodbye forever. What the future holds for Rain Brown after the verdict. Now that Rain Brown's sentence has been finalized, her future remains uncertain. Based on available reports, she may face a jail term depending on the final court documents. Regardless of the specific penalties, the legal outcome has severely damaged her reputation. It is highly unlikely that Rain will continue any association with Alaskan Bush people or return to television in any capacity. Public trust has eroded, and brands and networks typically avoid individuals with criminal records, especially when serious charges like burglary are involved. At this point, Rain is expected to focus on her personal life away from the spotlight. Recovery, rebuilding, and staying out of further legal trouble will likely be her immediate priorities. Whether she eventually returns to public life remains uncertain. For now, Rain Brown's story has reached a definitive and very public low point. What do you think about Rain's sentence? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.